encouraging, inspiring, and empowering mothers on their parenting journey. Welcome to the OHbaby podcast. Being a mum can be overwhelming and unrelenting, we know. Each episode, we'll be bringing you the top tips, advice, and words of wisdom from experts and industry leaders to help you navigate your own path. It's the information you can trust. Mama, you got this.
So welcome to the OHbaby podcast. My name is Angela Pedersen and I am the founder of OHbaby magazine and website. Today we are talking winter wellness with Sharlene Bennett, who is the senior naturopath for Kiwi Herb. Welcome, Sharlene.
Thanks, Angela. Thanks for having me aboard with you today as we go through some interesting information and how to help coming into the winter season.
So good, so good. So tell me a bit about yourself.
Sure, yeah. So I'm currently the resident senior naturopath here at Phytomed Kiwi Herb. And while previous to this role, I've spent about 22 years in the industry. About half of that has been in clinic myself with children, specialising in eczema and autoimmunity allergies, which is a bit of a big topic for adults and children alike, actually.
Yeah, heck yeah. Yeah, eczema is just such a massive topic, actually, eh? So
it's a huge one, and it can go from very, very mild to very chronic to almost life debilitating. And from a very young age, counted from newborn, we can see it in those really little babies right through to toddlers to older children. So it sort of has no bounds in that way either. It's very, very broad in its age application.
Yeah. That sounds like a topic we should talk about another time. Watch this space. Yes,
but for another upcoming episode podcast.
Yeah. So winter wellness, it's a big topic, especially when you have little ones. Once you've had a little one that's been sick and it's just awful watching your baby struggling with being sick, you're all about the prevention. You're all about, what do I need to buy? Just stock me up. So tell me about prevention. What can we be taking for the family and for our little ones?
Yeah, that's the good news, Angela. There is some things we can do in this place to help. So for prevention, if you've had a little one that's been sick or repeatedly sick, especially if they're going into care and you're busy being a working mum, whether you're at home with them and you've got a busy household, and so you've always got a constant exposure tracking them out of the door or through the household. It is good to use prevention in this space because there are many options available. So in our Kiwi Herb range, we have echinacea, which is under the wonderful name Echinacea. And that's just a little nickname for the echinacea. But that's a wonderful way to help with prevention from a medicinal point of view. So we've got that one and we've got D-stuff. Now D-stuff's another wonderful one, and a lot of people use it acutely. So when I say acutely, right when baby's unwell, they'll be using it. But you can use it in the prevention space as well. It's really good for those snotty blocked noses. So hence the name D-stuff. So really good for stuffed blocked noses where there's colds, which, and the little rub there can come with it as well. So you can put something on topically and you can get something internally. So it's got that dual action support. So that's really important at this time of year as we come into what we call the cold season. Literally the temperature does start to get colder, but also then we start to see more virus spread as well. Another thing that we can just simply do is layer up, which we can do for both children and us alike. So just dressing appropriately to the weather. That can be really hard as the weather changes a lot here in New Zealand. It can be quite, you never know what you're going to get from day to day. But doing our best to do that. Also adequate hydration. And the other thing would be just another note on temperature when we're in air conditioning or where there is a warmer temperature. Obviously bugs thrive in that environment more so. So it is about layering up, staying warm and taking care of hydration, nutrition, all those basic things that we should include daily, but we all drop the ball on those from time to time, depending on our busy pace
with
of
hydration. I'm so guilty on that.
Yeah.
I try.
There's always one.
I'm more conscious of it now, but yes, I still need to.
It can be a hard one. In theory, so simple. why can't you just have 8 glasses of water a day, or a typical standard? But everyone's a little bit different as to what hydration suits them. We often forget that, teas and things like, a lot of fruit and veggies, zucchini, strawberries, those things that come in and out of season obviously can be very water hydrating as well. There are foods that contain a lot of water, so it is very individual, and it is an easy one to drop the ball. And in winter it's even easier because we're cold, right? So we don't tend to have as many cold drinks like water. So we can have hot herbal teas or warm water. Those sorts of things can help keep us hydrated as we go forward. Really important for breastfeeding mums, of course, to keep an adequate level of hydration, because they're giving out all the time during the day for the little baby, the little one. So that's another important note there.
And so, even just with your kids, like, if you've got, breastfeeding and keeping their fluids up as well. So, giving them drinks of water as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can be like us. It'd be hard to get things into, can't they? So, absolutely. Little drinks of water, even, doing little juices if you need to, and diluting that depending on the age of the child with water to help encourage them. So we're staying away from, ideally, that refined sugar, but if you're needing to sweeten them naturally, you can do that with frozen berries, and what you can do is, this is one of my favorites actually, to help take the herbs. You can take frozen berries, just put them in a pot, boil them up, and obviously make them into a syrup. You can add either a little bit of honey, or if you like, just something as simple as a little bit of date syrup if you don't want to do the honey, or you can always add a touch of monk fruit. There's lots of natural sweeteners available on the market to help naturally sweeten it, so it is naturally sweet. And give your herbs in that, and keep it in the fridge, put it in a little jar, keep it in the fridge, and give your herbs in that every time. But also you can make a little drink of water with a dash of that in as well.
Yeah, that's so good. Great tip.
Yeah, it sounds like it's flavoursome, but honestly it's not. By the time you've done it once, it's very easy.
Yeah. I love the the whole date, sweetness thing. I'm
very sweet, very good for just adding a dash in and making it sweet. So it's there's a high compliance with that. I want to have my herbs, or I want to take my supplements. Creating that good can-do attitude from the start helps them and helps us as parents in the long run, definitely.
Yeah. I love the kind of natural side of all of that too, which is awesome. Like they say, food is kind of like your medicine as well. So, it's what we're putting to our bodies that's helping us with our prevention of, colds and flus and stuff. But just keeping as well. So when we're looking at products in terms of prevention and stuff, I know you mentioned the D stuff for a bit of a snotty nose. Like, what else are we looking for?
Yeah. So we've got the D stuff for those blocked noses. We've got the echinacea for prevention. Most people are probably familiar with echinacea, right? Like, it's a well-known herb. So you can be using that to help with prevention as well. So you can just take a daily low dosage for yourself and for the kids and babies. A lot of our range are suitable for newborns, and you can see that on the pack. Another one which is new for us is a wonderful little product we've just released and been working on, is the children's immune drops. So that's from a year old. So that has some great clinical research.
Which I've got here. Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me about this.
So this one here is quite an interesting little one. It's got a great clinical paper on it from 1 to 4 on children. As a preventative and for staying well. So if they become unwell while they've been using it, or they've noticed like a drastic drop in their wellness, then it really helps half the duration of that illness, or during that time. Wow. So it's quite amazing. That's what got us into it and onto it here at Kiwi Herb and our research and development team, which I'm part of, our RD team. And we came to the idea that we'd love to use this main ingredient, which is Wellmune. It's a beta-glucan. So for those of you who haven't heard of beta-glucans, they're naturally occurring compounds in nature. You find them in certain herbs, you find them in mushrooms, you also find them in oats. And what we can do from there is that they're extracted and used in a formula for their immune benefits. So that's where the clinical research is coming from. So great research from that 1 to 4 year old space, where that's a busy time, right? And there's often a high sickness time because they're exposed to a lot. They're often, going to kindy or daycare, or they're with their friends and they're out and about. So during that time, to have something that's easy to give, it's quite delicious and it's easy to give a few drops a day, then that's perfect.
So you're just giving it to them regardless of whether they're sick or not. I can tell you that when I got sent this, because this is an unopened pack, but I did open it, it has like elderberry in it, which
yes,
but the flavor is black currant, and like it was so yummy.
no, we work hard to
I really liked it. I thought, this is going to be easy for kids to have because it just tastes so yum.
Yeah, it is easy to use. And look, that's one of the things, even before I worked within the Kiwi Herb team, that's one of the things that is great importance here in our team when we're doing product development. Obviously, we are largely focused on our babies range, our children's and babies range. And so that's our beautiful orange packaging that's sitting there beside you, and we work really hard for them to taste nice because they are designed especially for littlies and kids. So because of that, the taste is really important, and we're never adding sugar into our products. We're only ever using a natural source to help with that sweet taste, as with the children's immune drops. And you're right, it's got elderberry. You expect it to taste like yummy elderberry drink, but instead it's a delicious black currant flavor.
Funny, yeah, so good. I really, that was
really easy to taste.
And actually, do you know, because I thought I'd try the product. It's
very important. We always encourage that.
But I kind of have flashbacks to when I was a kid, and you got medicines, or orally, it tasted disgusting. So
the taste is no good.
God, everything is so much better now.
Yes, definitely. We've come a long way.
Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. It's so much easier giving kids good stuff that's good for them.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be a terrible experience anymore, which is we've worked really hard over the last couple of years to create that too. And it is, if not the most important thing when you're developing a kids range to go out there, is that the taste is delicious and nice, because it needs to be easy, right? It needs to be easy for mum or dad to give that medicine. So we're well aware that that's an important thing nowadays. And thank goodness, yes, we've come a long way, Angela, since even maybe 10 years ago.
10 years ago, okay. So you touched on the fact that our kids are going to daycare, they're going out on play dates, the environments in which they're going out into potentially full of bugs and colds and flu. What can we do, or how can we protect them in these environments, and should we? Like people talk about building up their immune systems and stuff. I mean, the downside potentially is we're the ones that get sick too, and we've got to take time off work, and but how can we potentially protect in our environments as well?
That's a great question, Angela. There is an important balance there. So yes, essentially we want our children to be able to go outside and play and do those things because we know there is really interesting research on children that play outside and that are in contact with soil daily and things like that. Obviously wintertime might not be the key time for that, but just throughout the year, that those children have typically healthier gut microbiome, which we know our gut microbiome also helps us with our daily immunity. So it is important they get out there and play and be kids to a degree. And they can be individual too, depending on the health of the child. But essentially, yes, it is generally a very healthy thing for most children, and we would encourage that. But there's a balancing point as well when you have high exposure, when there's a lot of viruses going around, we're going into virus season as the temperature drops. Typically, even the best of us need some immune support. Then that's the time to just start acting on with these preventative methods we talked about, little prophylactics like echinacea, D stuff, that supporting, formula or herb that can help, and the children's immune drops. But also all those other sensible things like getting enough rest, those things that we hear every day, which actually make a huge difference, but are very hard as a parent and as a child. Enough sleep, enough nutrition. And how how we are just every day in our lives affect us, our emotional stress, our environment. So those things all come into play as well as the whole picture. Obviously, it's not as simple as taking something off a spoon, but definitely these supplements from us at Kiwi Herb are designed to help support, that process of staying well.
Yeah, so good. So good. I definitely noticed a difference since I've been, taking daily, multivitamins and like vitamin C's and D's and echinacea and, all of those things. Like we've been pretty good, like as a family. Um,
Yeah, that's great to hear.
Don't
And you
get
will,
negative stuff.
yes, yeah, and you will notice a difference. And sometimes if you've been unwell with repeated bouts of, colds and sniffles and all those things, it is a bit tough getting better. But as you start on that journey, if you're just starting into it, taking supplements and being a bit more from a preventative angle, things do get easier and they do get better as you go along. So definitely, I always encourage people to have faith and to keep going, because if you're coming from a space of being unwell a lot, then it does take time sometimes to get back on track. But you always notice a difference. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Actually, you always notice a difference if you're doing preventative steps. You never generally go down as severe, or you're back up on your feet easier, and it just gives you that bit of extra support, which we all need at different times.
So your little one's looking a bit under the weather. What does that look like usually?
Yeah. So often we see those first signs of maybe a bit of grumpiness, tiredness, which can be part of our days anyway. But something a little bit out of character. Sometimes they're a bit more tired, they're less talkative. The little ones do tend to be quite lively and sparkly from day to day, and have a lot of energy. So sometimes we see a wane in those things before we see anything else. And sometimes, in our busy lives, we don't always pick that up as the very first sign. And sometimes it can be very mild as well. They just want to be bed early. They fell asleep on the couch. They don't normally do, or in the car, or things are just a little out of miss. And sometimes it can be for a couple of days, or sometimes the little ones, they are quite sensitive and can go down really fast. They can be well when they go to bed, and then they wake up at night unwell. So that can happen too. So often we see the first signs can be either you notice they're getting mucousy, cold or a cough, tickle, or, temperature. There's an increase in body temperature, or they're complaining of feeling a bit unwell. Sometimes they tug on their ears a little bit if they're really blocked up, and they obviously got a sniffling nose, and those signs are a bit more obvious. But yeah, then often if it's very suddenly, they can have a fever. Children do spike fevers very easily, so they can go to bed well and then, wake you up at midnight or 1 or 2 o'clock, which is quite common with, with an increased temperature and a fever. So there are quite a lot of different ways, but normally those first few signs can be quite easy to miss. It's just a little change in character, or a bit of tiredness, or something like that, which is you think, okay, they've had a bad day, or I've had a bad day. Sometimes you might think, am I taking everything too personally?
Or usually it's okay, they need more sleep. They just need more sleep.
Yeah, they need more sleep. We've had a busy week. They haven't slept well, or we've been really busy as a family. And often in those busy times is where we get unwell, right? Because all it takes really, if there's a lot of viral action going around, or a lot of colds at that particular time, like winter, all it takes is for us to be a bit busy and under a bit of extra stress, physical and emotional stress, and that's enough for our immune system to slip a little bit or drop a little bit and get unwell. So it doesn't take much a lot of the time.
So true. So you've got a sick kid in front of you. When should you be concerned?
Yeah. So I think when your child's unwell, and as we know, as you go along and go through this a few times, it gets very obvious when you shouldn't be concerned.
Yeah.
Obviously, first time everything is a concern, and that's very understandable. So I think you would generally, if the child's unwell, it has a bit of an increased temperature, but otherwise it seems okay, in the sense it's getting up, it's doing things, playing as it normally would, depending on the age. Then you could treat it with, or help support it, with products like the Kiwi Herb chest syrup. If you notice that there's a bit of a cough, do stuff if there's a bit of cold. Even start with a bit of a dose of the children's immune drops alongside that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good night chest syrup, especially if they're waking in the night, which is common with children, because as soon as they lie down, their little lungs can't get the mucus off. They find it hard to cough up. Yeah. Just in general, let alone when they're lying down at night. So that's why they typically get worse at night. And there's a lot of tickles, a lot of discomfort, and a lot of obviously complaining heard at night because that is a busy time typically. Then, and you're going to give those things, and you would expect to notice an improvement, definitely over a couple of days. And if that wasn't happening, if things started to obviously get very worse quickly on, then you definitely would seek your doctor's advice, or at least bring up Healthline, checking with them. That's what those services are there for, especially Healthline. If you're concerned, just give them a call, and then they have a brilliant team there, support team, and let them know what's going on. And then obviously if you're more concerned than that, then going to doctor is always a good idea, especially if there's any breathing or respiratory distress or fever. Fevers can be very scary when they're very high. Yeah. So obviously if they're lying still, or the worst of very high fevers, you can get convulsions. If nothing seems to be helping, then obviously that's a good time to go straight to the doctor. But hopefully before that, you'd be ringing up or just checking in. There's never anything wrong with checking in, right? There's no silly questions here with young ones. It's important, especially if you're by yourself and you're with them. It's quite a vulnerable time, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I remember just first child, sickness and illness. I think the slightest little thing, and I was on the phone to Healthline. They were like my best friends. It's like, oh hi Ange, how are you? Welcome.
yeah.
But I called them a lot. It was so helpful.
Yeah,
and they don't.
You're right. They are.
A stressing parent, which you are, but that's okay. They're just there.
That's normal as a parent, and I think that it's more important to check in if you're feeling unsure than not, because you don't want to, having you regret over that situation, or things to get worse, which often they don't provide reassurance. Often they don't, but just in case they were to, then you just want to check in to make sure you're on the right path, and you. Also, just for emotional reassurance, it's just as important. Yeah,
it's true. You just know that you've got someone who knows what they're doing on the other side, just saying it's going to be okay. It's a cold, or actually,
exactly.
Your doctor to check her out, or yeah,
exactly. And you're never being silly with a young one, because the truth is that at that age things can rapidly decline and change. When they're young, they can go from being okay to really unwell in a very small space of time, and often it does happen at night time, or at times where it's unexpected or unpredictable. So checking in like yourself, I think, is absolutely recommended. There's nothing wrong with seeking reassurance. That should always be encouraged.
Oh, so good, so good. I know that you mentioned the children's goodnight chest syrup. It's got wild cherry and passion flower. Like, how yum does that sound? Again, like, so easy to take. So what's that going to do, like, in terms of their chest and what's going on for them at that time?
Yeah, so when we designed that formula, what we had in mind is that we wanted to replicate our chest syrup, our daytime chest syrup. And these can be used both together for anyone out there is listening and wondering about that, or already are familiar with our chest syrup that they use during the day, our kids' organic chest syrup. You can absolutely use that during the day. That's helping bring up mucus and helping just settle the chest. It's what we call expectorant herbs. That's in our organic chest syrup for use during the day. This one that you've got in your hand, the bedtime one, was created to also help with soothing a cough, just like our daytime one, the organic chest syrup. But the bedtime one has the addition of passion flower and wild cherry. And that's because wild cherry is what we call an antitussive herb. And what that means is it helps stop that repetitive hacking and coughing. And so it helps in that way. So it's very good for supporting at night time, because often you do get that repetitive bouts of, breathing trouble, a bit of respiratory distress with the coughing. Yes. And then the passion flower is obviously designed to ease a good night's sleep. And all the herbs are used in a dosage that's suitable for that really young age group. So that's the reason behind those two little additions in there. And that's what sets it apart from our daytime one. They're great used together, but that one's really great at night because it helps settle and also helps get everyone to sleep, because if the child gets to sleep, and everyone else in the house can also have a chance to get some rest. And how do we get better? Rest is important, right? Sleep helps our body repair and do its own thing. So that's very important for restoration when we're unwell.
So good. So best winter wellness tip?
Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? Because there's quite a few to single out one that I think my best winter wellness tip would be everything that we've talked about, in the sense of, if we boil it down to one thing, acting in a preventative way. So, taking care of yourself more days than not. I know there'll be days we always fall off where we forget to give something, but absolutely staying well doesn't just happen with one dose of anything. So, being and staying well, and that goes for everything in our life, not just over winter time, is what we do every day. It's the majority of what's in our life that influences us. So absolutely, our everyday. So preventative, being as preventative as you can, taking those things, and your children supporting yourself through the season. And that's not to say that you won't get unwell, but it will certainly help in your recovery if and when you do.
Oh, so good. So good. Thank you. So at the end of every podcast, we ask the question, what is one thing you swore you'd never do with your child that you totally did once they were born? So what's your one?
I'm sure, like everyone, there's definitely more than one thing.
What's the one you're willing to disclose?
Yes, well, one that is very easy to disclose, which I'm sure we all break the rule on, is everyone tells you to rest when your child's asleep. That's a very rare thing to ever do. I think, just get on with things and tidy up and do things. So I was probably guilty of that a lot. But looking back, that was something that you probably just put your feet up and rest, because you don't get a lot of time to otherwise do that. And there'll always be time to clean up and tidy up. I guess if I can sneak one more thing in there, which I'm sure we would all relate to, is worry. You always swore, I'd never be a worrier parent, worrying about things, but I think instinctively as a parent, that's very hard to control. So I think that comes with the job, unfortunately, but that is something that I never thought that you would do, but it seems to be programmed in right from the start. I'm sure we can all relate to that as mothers.
Absolutely. So true. Hence my, direct dial call to Healthline all the time. Anyway.
Well, it's that, I guess, right from the start, as part of what you do, isn't it, to care. There's such a vulnerable time, isn't it? So for everyone, not, for baby and mother, it is such a emotional, a beautiful, and at the same time, immensely vulnerable time for everyone. So there is a lot of worry that naturally comes with it. But I mean, being preventative can help in that way too. If you're keeping well and trying to stay well, then that helps take a little bit of stress out of it. Even if it is just a touch less, then that helps. That all helps.
So true. It gives you that peace of mind, eh?
Of course.
Post sickness is quicker, and just all the good stuff. And
all the good stuff.
Things are natural, and you're not kind of worried about, what's going into their body. Yeah.
And as people, we can only do our best, and as mothers, we can only do that too, right? So I think that is a hard one too. I think forever that mother's guilt or mother's worry is always, no matter what age group of children you have, or as they grow up, that it's always there to differing degrees, right? So they always need you in some way. It just changes, as they grow. So it's a hard one to have control over, but you're right, those little things do help. They're little everyday things, again, they help give you a little bit of peace of mind in those times of worry.
So good. Hey, it's been wonderful chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time. And
thanks, Angela.
Jump on the Kiwi Herb website, guys, to check out their products. And if you want to watch the podcast on our YouTube channel, you're very welcome to. It's youtube.com/OHbabyMag. So nice to chat with you, and we'll see you again.
Thanks, Angela. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the OHbaby podcast. If you've found this episode useful and encouraging, make sure to share it with your village so that more mothers can feel empowered. Head to OHbaby.co.nz for more from us, and don't forget to subscribe. Mama, you got this. Till next time.